Howdy guys, so here we are with the chassis update. So pretty much most of the metalwork I think is done at this stage, so it's starting to look encouraging. This is just a dry fit really. I've just put some of the bits and pieces back together, so you get a sense. I'm very pleased with the grommets. They seem to be just spot on the right size. However, I underestimated the number that were needed. I thought there was just 2 needed for the tuning condenser and 1 needed here for the front panel. It turns out there's also 2 needed here for the speaker mount. There's a 3rd one needed here for the speaker mount, and there's 1 for the mains cable goes in, which I have anyway. But so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 potentially in total. I've been accumulating some bits and pieces along the way. So apart from the original valve, the 68, I got a new audio output. So I have a 25L6 and I also got the 25Z6, the rectifier, but of course I need a socket so I can put that in. I've ordered up a 4-inch 4-ohm speaker, and so I'll see if this original mount will work with the new speaker when it comes. If not, then I'll have to get into metalwork and make some brackets and stuff so that the speaker can mount here like the original. And yeah, I took off the serial number plate here just so I could do the polishing more effectively without damaging it, and I'll pop it back on a little bit later. So that's the update. We're getting there, and it's looking pretty good. I don't know if this will show up on the camera, but I've started to clean up the cab itself. This is kind of the after, and this is the before. And what looked initially just like dust turns out to be quite hard baked on gunk. And I spent ages on this side trying all sorts of different chemicals, alcohol, WD-40, all sorts of things to try and clean it off. Turns out the wonder chemical is some warm water and a bit of washing off liquid and a toothbrush. Saved myself a lot of trouble by just doing it the easy way. So I was nervous of using water with Bakelite because on one project I did, I think it was the first restore I did, when I was reading up on how to clean the Bakelite knobs, it said just soak them in warm soapy water and then they'll clean up a treat. I put them in the water, black knobs, and about 10 minutes later when I went to dig them out of there, they'd completely turned white and looked to be as though they were absorbing the water. So I panicked, took them out, dried them up, and managed to salvage them. So lesson learned, all Bakelite is not the same. Anyway, this is coming up a treat. I haven't found any major cracks or anything in it yet. And so, yeah, hopefully when this is done, there's 1 or 2 big scratches on the top that I might have difficulty hiding. But when we're all done and the stripes are painted, I think it's gonna look pretty neat. And there's the second half done. So it's come up pretty well. And so at this point we're ready for repainting the white stripes, or the off-white stripes. Yeah, there's a couple of blemishes on the finish, but they're, for instance, down here, quite low down, so, and it's quite small, so it's not too obtrusive. Right, that's that bit done. Another little metalwork task that's come about on the chassis is there is a right angle bracket which should be fitted right about here to provide the third mounting hole. So it mounts in the chassis with three holes, three bolts, two at the front and one at the rear. And I don't know if you can probably see here where the original spot weld has obviously just come apart. So I need to replace the little right angle metal bracket that goes there. However, I'll leave that until the speaker arrives that goes in here, because I'm sure I'm going to need to be doing some metal work anyway for how I'm going to mount the new speaker, because it obviously isn't the same as the original. It's the same size, but the mounting is completely different. Yeah, we'll have to see how that's going to get done. Still waiting for these octal sockets, because yeah, and I'm having some difficulty. The mountings for these seem to be 2 to 3 mil longer than most octal sockets. So, and I really don't want to go messing with the mounts here and, you know, drilling on the chassis and whatever. I could probably get away with it just by elongating these holes out into the main hole so that they're actually slots. But I'd really like to try and avoid that if I can. I've been around tidying up the insides of this, particularly getting all the huge chunks of solder off these earth chassis points. Because they're normally pressed out and they lift up from the chassis, so it's much easier to heat them. You don't have to heat all the surrounding metal, but of course over the years the solder blobs onto the metal, and then you end up having to heat the whole thing anyway, so you need a huge iron or a very high power soldering iron to do that, which I don't have yet, but I'm going to have to get. So all the ones that I could clean up, like these, let me see if I can right, these were very huge lumps of solder here with all sorts of numbers of wires on there over the years, and so I've tidied up all the ones I can. There are some, however, that I just can't get at. So guys like this guy right here, is directly on the chassis and I can't heat it up properly, so I'm going to have to get a bigger iron to be able to do that. The mains cord that came with the set is in pretty good condition. It was filthy dirty, so I've cleaned it all up. But it's not the original, obviously, because the original was a curtain burner type cable, and this is not keyed in any way. And the cable I put on it will be keyed, so that live will always go to live. But hey, I'll hold on to it, you never know, might come in handy. Here is the master photo I took of the original set before I began restoring it, just to show you that this is the metal bracket on my current project, which is disappeared. So you can also see here the 3 coils that I don't have in my current set, which will be fun to find. I was looking at possible speaker solutions here, since there's no speaker at all with this thing. So I have a couple from previous hi-fi and other projects. This one is a pretty high quality, high power unit. It's the right size, 4 inches, it's the right impedance, 4 ohms, but it's very heavy because it has a huge permanent magnet on the back. And so it doesn't really fit because the magnet sticks straight to the chassis, and it doesn't quite line up here with the mounting holes on the bottom. So that's kind of, and of course there's nowhere at all then to put the output transformer. So that's kind of, this one gets put back in the junk box for another future project. I have a slightly more suitable candidate, which is it's also 4 ohm and it's 4-inch, and so but as you can see, it's a much smaller magnet, it's a much lower power rating. But if I look at the bottom here, the mounting hole lines up quite nicely with where the grommet is, and then I'd have to make the baffle to go around it. Still quite tight with the output transformer. Yeah, there'd be a bit of metal work required to get this on here, but definitely a better candidate than the first one. However, so this is, I feel like, my best shot at the moment if I go with a permanent magnet speaker. However, I have found a 4-inch 3.6 ohm field coil speaker on eBay, which is on its way to me, so we'll hold off until that comes, because if it does, it will hopefully fix multiple problems. One, hopefully it'll fit much more nicely in here. It'll probably have some mounting holes for the output transformer, and of course it will also mean I don't have to worry about a filter choke, because if I go with a permanent magnet setup, I have to replace the filter choke in the power supply, and in this chassis there is no room for anything of any size, so that's going to be a problem. So at this stage we wait for the other speaker to arrive, and we go from there. A colleague on the Golborne forum in the UK has very kindly offered to give me a replacement octal socket to go here, because I have been searching for weeks and I haven't found any online anywhere. And most of the octal sockets that are available today, the mounting holes are much closer together. They're up to 5 mil closer together than the spacing I have here. So that's on its way in the post. Obviously I can find pop rivets, but so far I haven't got any brass ones. And it'd be nice if I could get some brass ones to match those that are already fitted. It would also let me do things like drill out some of these ones that are in bad shape and replace. So search is on for brass pop rivets, and if I find those, they'll get added in. But something tells me if all else is waiting on a few pop rivets, then I'll just use regular aluminium ones for here. But we will try in the first instance to go for brass.